Hi, my dear Astro family. Today we are going to be looking at the full moon, which is taking place on the 13th of January, and it's going to be happening on 24 degree of Cancer to 24 degree of Capricorn. And this is quite an intense full moon because it has a conjunction to retrograde Mars. The moon is out of bound, Mars is out of bound as well, but it does make a couple of nice aspects as well. It's making a trine to Juno, actually. And on top of that, it is making a trine to Neptune. So we've got a grand trine formation also. And on top of that, we've got a sextile to Uranus. So I will be breaking this down for you. But before we do that, I've got a couple of announcements to make. In January, I'm going to be having some cool webinars that are coming up, and one of them is connected to wealth in your chart, which took place already this weekend. But if you are interested in it, then I recommend checking it out because this is going to be in connection to the explanation of your second house and all houses related to finances. So how the 12th house is playing a role in finances, and I'm going to teach you a new technique, the center of your money as well, in this particular about 70 minutes webinar. And on top of that, we are going to be talking about some of the houses that are connected to the ego, which is the 1, 5, and ninth, and then how can you work with that? And the theory about what happens when the house does not have a ruler, because there is a theory that some houses will not have a ruler. So I'm going to be explaining about that too. So these are the webinars I recommend checking out. And next month, between the 9th and the 17th of February, I will be in New York. So I will be doing some in-person readings as well. If you are interested, drop me an email or go on my website and then you can drop me an email there too. And hopefully I can connect with some of you. The spots are going to be limited, of course, because I want to do some fun things as well. But let's get started with this lunation. So it's going to be happening on the 13th of January, 24 degree of Cancer. Obviously, the moon is in rulership. Often that gives a little bit more intensity because we need to be in touch with our feelings a little bit more. But this moon is out of bound and it has got a conjunction to an out of bound retrograde Mars as well. So it looks like that we have to be dealing with something that is coming back from the past. And the out of bound energy can already indicate that something is emotional. Quite intense feelings are getting stirred up here. And the full moon is, by the way, when the sun and the moon are in opposition. And when it is out of bound, and when we have got Mars there, something is speaking here. Yes, the full moon can represent endings as well, or just highlighting some of our past emotions that we have got kind of like building up. And then maybe with that Mars, we need to be able to cut them out. So somehow the feelings are overflowing here. Now, because Mars is a retrograde and Mars went into the sign of Cancer a good 4 months ago, so you might need to be revisiting something to do with kind of like an anger or restlessness or even your passion that has been kind of boiling a little bit over, and maybe we need to be able to calm down because the out of bound energies are often like two extremes, or it has got a Uranian flavor to it. So sometimes this is about a chaotic feelings. So it looks like that something that has gone down in the past or went down in the past is actually holding you back. And then you have to be revisiting that. Maybe it's dragging you somehow down or dragging you backwards. And then that's the reason why it makes me overly emotional. And yes, maybe Mars, which is also your motivation level, but on one hand, it represents your vitality and your strength as well. Your overly sensitive self is actually kind of knocking down your energy level. And maybe you feel like that you cannot get out of bed, for example. And maybe something that you should have let gone already a long time ago, and then you haven't done that. Remember that this lunation is actually having a trine to Neptune, which is the planet of surrender, letting go. In a way, we need to be able to make peace with the past, and that would be a message here. Now, as mentioned at the beginning of the video, that this lunation is actually forming a grand trine with Neptune and Juno. So Juno is sitting on 22 degrees of Scorpio, and Juno is the representation of partnership, contractual agreements. So it pretty much feels to me that what happens is that maybe with Neptune, we need to be able to forgive, for example, our partner for the past mistakes that they had done. And we need to kind of place ourselves in their own shoes. We need to be a little bit more compassionate. But it can be any type of agreement, really. And sometimes this is about compromise as well. So, because Mars is in the sign of Cancer along with the full moon, this could indicate that you need to be able to come up with some compromising situations, for example, with people you live together with or family members. As mentioned before, it's very much connected to the past. So, we kind of need to be able to forget about it and move on. But this is a healing aspect here. So healing certain type of connections with others. Now, grand trines are said to be generally very positive, and I agree with that. Often it represents some type of effortlessness, but because we've got this water energy, maybe we get an intuitive hit of how to kind of solve any of the negative feelings that we've got. And often this could even talk to you about the ability to move away from certain type of emotionally distracting habits as well. But Mars, which is the planet of risk, which is the planet of kind of like the go-getter, it is telling you that certain amount of risks needs to be taken. But I would say because it's retrograde, it needs to be a calculative risk somehow. So if you have got any type of anger that kind of like boiling over, then it needs to be somehow solved. With Neptune, we need to be able to dissolve it somehow. We need to be able to go down on that healing road. Um, Also, because Juno is in the sign of Scorpio, and Scorpio represents addictions. So this could indicate that you are so addicted to certain type of partnership, you are struggling to be alone. And there is a need here to kind of learn how it feels to be alone, how it is to kind of be in your own sanctuary. And that comes from the Cancer and the Piscean part of the chart as well. Now, is it going to be easy to let go, to detach yourself from these feelings? Of course not, because Mars is retrograde and out of bound energies as well. So this is going to need a lot of work as well. And that's what the Sun in Capricorn represents. When we are focused, when we are determined, when we are disciplined, then we are able to move on slowly and surely. Now, we've got a Uranus sextile as well, which is telling you to listen to your intuition and embrace the unique self as well. And also, it is the representation of getting out of your comfort zone. So, facing your own fears and feelings are not always easy, but you get a step closer, of course. And often this comes with a lot of uncomfortable feelings because Mars might be stirring up certain type of emotions from the past, childhood memories. You might be even going down on the memory lane and then you start kind of remembering things. And then it could be something that you feel like that I have to be, kind of working with. And it could be actually even highlighting your own insecurities as well. Often, because Cancer is about familiarity, so you might just want to be around the family, but we can get into certain type of like arguments as well. And this would be an argument that we have had already in the past, but it has not been resolved yet. So this is a very interesting full moon. not to mention actually that even Chiron is involved in the picture as well. So we've got a T square happening. And not even to mention that Chiron has got a conjunction to Aries and Hygeia as well. So let's talk about that a little bit. Because the sun is in the sign of Capricorn, which is telling you to work towards your practical goals, and it's very result orientated as well. But we can kind of get into certain type of conflicting situation because you've got your own responsibility in your family as well as in your home life. So, and this could be kind of like an intense feeling, which one to attend. Now, all these water energies pretty much represents the unconscious emotions or even the compulsive behavior side of it. And Juno in Scorpio could represent kind of like backstabbing partnerships or backstabbing agreement. You kind of feel misled as well that, you know what, someone pulled you into this shady situation and then how can I get out of it? So because Mars is out of bound, it's really easy to get angry. And then we project our anger onto others. Now, this is where the T square with Chiron, Aries, and Hygeia are coming into the picture, which could talk to you about that a past pain is getting triggered here. And then you have got your little inner demons, Aries, which is whispering into your own ears. And you need to be aware of the fact that how easy it is to kind of project your own insecurities onto others. Also, this could talk to you about you wanting to be protecting your loved ones, for example. And the question is, how do they react to that? Maybe what is motivating you, Mars, is to create a secure, kind of like nurturing home environment, or because Cancer Capricorn could represent actually the political situation in your home country as well, that you feel kind of insecure when you where you live. And then you might feel like that I want to be relocating, for example, especially if it is somehow connected to your ninth or the fourth house. Also, maybe what you are thinking about is how to kind of express your own anger. Mars is actually connected to the physical body as well, because that's the natural ruler of the first house, but also it has got planetary joy in the sixth house as well. So Mars often represents medical issues. So maybe it is about a medical issue that you're battling with, or an emotional world that is impacting your own physical well-being. There is a lot of, because there's a lot of water, which is about emotions, but the water signs do struggle with expressing their own anger. So even it brings up the topic of passive aggressive behavior, kind of like the push and pull. I'm getting pushed to express my feelings, but at the same time, I'm not too sure whether this is the right course of action or not. So all these, for example, Neptune trying to Mars is an invitation that you need to be able to trust your gut feelings. Remember, Mars has got this very unusual long period of stay in the sign of Cancer due to its retrogression, and it's going to be retrograding back to the 17th degree of Cancer. And it's only going to be leaving the sign when 18th of April or something like that. So this full moon is not necessarily just about a couple of weeks. It really feels like that it is highlighting the next few months for you. Now, as mentioned earlier, Mars went into the sign of Cancer in September 2024, and then it was there for a couple of months, and then it went into Leo, and then it retrograding back into the sign of Cancer just on the 6th of January. So you might want to be revisiting that September, October, even the early November period, what went down in your life, because maybe those are the things that you have to be dealing with. Now, the Juno being part of it, could pretty much talk to you about, for example, in global matters, that certain type of contractual agreements, for example, between countries are going to be they are going to be pulling out of it, or those contractual agreements are going to be pretty much reviewed. But I really feel like Uranus and Neptune can actually help you to break out any type of past issues, any type of old habits. And then Mars might be able to find you aspiration of going towards something new. And even the out of bound energy can represent that you are kind of like more intuitive and more able in a way to get out of your comfort zone. So therefore looking for different perspective. There is a need here to have a spiritual practice. There is a need here to have even faith in yourself as well. And I think Mercury is helping here quite a lot as well, even though it does not have a height aspect to this lunation, but Mercury in Capricorn can be helping you with seeing things clearly and have a little bit more of a disciplined mindset, a little bit more kind of like a structural way of thinking, of approaching any of the issues or your emotions. And Mercury even able to help you with kind of like organizing your own feelings as well. So it's not kind of boiling over. And that is pretty much a brief description on this upcoming lunation. But I've got a couple of other things that I wanted to mention here. So it also represents your attachment style as well. And attachment pretty much means that it provides us a comfort zone. So we might be attached to our family, to certain type of habits. Of course, you need to be looking at where Cancer cusp is in your chart, because this is telling you to kind of basically detach yourself. And why I am so attached, for example, to my family or maybe to my career as well, because the sun is in the sign of Cancer. And maybe you are so motivated to achieve something, to get a reward, to get appreciation and kind of like compliments in a way. But it could also feel like that you have been working extremely hard, and then all I get is just pretty much punishment, because Capricorn also represents difficulties as well. So, because the sun and the moon are in opposition, this is definitely an invitation to be able to attend our responsibility, but also manage our family life as well at the same time. Also, very interesting that Cancer and Neptune represent unconditional love, while Capricorn represent conditional love. So it could feel like that love needs to be earned, that love is kind of difficult, that I'm not getting in a way accepted by others. So the opposition, a full moon, is always about balancing something out. And when we don't take the right course of action, Mars retrograde, then unfortunately it can be something that backfire on us. And this is why Mars is retrograde. We need to be able to kind of trace back our own steps so that we don't make any type of mistakes. So this is a full moon that is telling you that it's time to clear up some of your emotions, dealing with past issues, and working towards a personal kind of like integration or personal achievement, something that you can be proud of. So, this would be a general interpretation of the upcoming full moon. So maybe let's have a look at how this might play out for the 12 signs. And here I will be actually sharing the screen. Potentially, this might be helping you to kind of visually understand what is happening. So we're going to start with Aries rising sign. Let me just move on to that. So Aries rising sign, Oh, and then I wanted to do the house system as well so that it becomes even more visible to you. So just give me 2 secs. Okay, and then I'm gonna animate the chart, and then we're good to go. So Aries rising sign, as you can see, Moon and Mars are in your fourth house, squaring Chiron here, which has got a conjunction to Aries and Hygeia, as mentioned before. The Sun is there, Neptune is here, and I did not put in, but Juno is in your eighth house. So for you, this is going to be definitely about, maybe I'm going to be even stopping the video. So you definitely can see just the chart. That's the easiest one, right? So where was I? So it really looks like that you have to be able to deal with the past. Maybe you're gonna have to be able to cut ties from the family. Maybe what you are considering here is that you want to be solving any type of living circumstances issues. For example, maybe you haven't been able to pay the rent, or you are kind of worried about how you are going to be paying the mortgage and all these type of topics. But it really kind of feels like that there is a need here to solve some family problems. And once you take a calculative risk, and then you want to be, for example, reconnecting with family members, parents, and so forth, then it's going to be giving you a certain type of results. Uh, this could also indicate that you might be going down on a memory lane, for example, and you are going to be focusing a little bit more on reconnecting with your inner happiness, reconnecting with your own center. This is inviting you to somehow kind of like recenter yourself. Also, maybe something, because these are the hidden houses here. The fourth, the eighth, and the 12th house is very much about what is going on behind closed doors. And maybe your family is going to start seeing, for example, that you are somehow struggling. Maybe you just desire to be a little bit more private, for example. Maybe you are changing your views about how to approach your living circumstances, how to deal with family members. And also, maybe even it could indicate that someone is about to move into your home environment, or they are going to be moving out. So there are certain type of changes going down in the way you live, for example. And yes, some of you might need to be able to forgive family members, and some of you might need to be able to even distance yourself from a certain type of drama, for example, because the out of bound energies often kind of create dramatic moments as well. So ask yourself the question, what type of drama that you are involved in with parents, with people that you live together with, and then how to distance yourself from that. And kind of like understanding that, you know what, this is what they are capable of. And it's kind of like out of your control. And the controlling part is pretty much coming from the Scorpio into Juno. You know what? I'm going to make an agreement with you, and I'm just going to give you the power in a way to deal with your own, in your own way. Maybe you are looking for a new home. Now, this full moon might be able to actually help you find one. And also, the other thing is that being in touch with your own emotions are extremely important. And Aries, sometimes you are too proud to do that. It can feel like that being vulnerable is something that is going to make you look weak. And that's where Chiron might be coming into the picture. So family drama, maybe this is telling you to set some boundaries with the sun in the sign of Capricorn. Maybe you dealing with some issues with your landlord or roommates, for example. Maybe someone has broken something in the home. With Mars, it's very possible that needs fixing. And the question is, who is going to be fixing that, and so on. And somehow we kind of bring up the topic of, of a past, that last time I fixed it, and now it's your turn to clean up, and so on. And on top of that, because it is forming a T square to Chiron, that is an indication that you need to be practicing a lot of self-care as well. Okay, let's move on to Taurus rising sign. So dear Taurus, the full moon is taking place in your third house, making a trine to Neptune, as well as a trine to Juno in your seventh house. So this could, because the house of communication, learning are getting triggered in your chart by this full moon. You might need to be able to learn about the needs of your own as well as the needs of others. Maybe there is a little bit of a tension, maybe how to kind of deal with certain type of connections in your life, like with family members, siblings, or even friends as well, with Neptune in the 11th house. Maybe Mars is inviting you to speak your own truth, but truth can be hurtful. And maybe someone wants you to kind of stop telling them the truth. Or someone might want you to kind of be a little bit more gentle, for example. Or this could even talk to you about how much to be said and how much to be done. So speaking might not be enough, and we need to be able to actually take action about that as well. Maybe you are actually all about something said and done, and then you need to be able to forgive, for example, with that Neptune energy, and making an agreement, Juno, that it's kind of never going to be happening again, or you know what, we just need the boundaries and so forth. Maybe some of you will want to go back to study something, and then you kind of feel like that maybe you started studying something in September, October, November time, and but you haven't had the time because of Christmas, and then now you kind of revisiting these. So there is a need here to kind of be committed to something that you have said or you study. And maybe definitely even it could make you quite the curious type as well, of course, with the third house. So you are curious to learn a little bit more about family dynamics. You are a little bit more curious about uh, how to process emotions, and maybe you are going to be taking a course about that. Maybe there is a lot of kind of like unanswered questions for you, and then now you feel like, especially since September, and then now you kind of ready to dig up some of these dirt or truth as well. And maybe it is connected to partnership somehow, partnership or friendships, obviously, with that grand trine. Maybe you have been running into certain type of blockages with the sun or fears, and then that is getting somehow highlighted for you. Maybe it's the fear of writing, or the fear of speaking, or the fear of actually publishing one of your projects, because Neptune is in the 11th house, which is our goals, which is very much connected to visibility and social media channels. So you might be kind of vacillating or struggling, or thinking whether you should be actually promoting this type of service, putting that piece of information out there that you have been gathering since September, because there is a fear here that what if I'm going to get judged by others? And this is telling you actually that you've been working extremely hard on that. So actually, you might want to be going ahead and do that. So obviously, maybe some communicational barriers, third and ninth house, needs to be cleared up with your partner, romantic partner, as well as friends. And lastly, this even could talk to you about kind of like looking at the details of certain type of contractual agreements that you have had signed maybe in the last 4 or 5 months. For you, it's time to get things off of your chest, something that bothers you. And maybe it is actually connected to finances, because, of course, Taurus, you are always concerned about security and financial matters. But the third house could represent your local kind of networking as well, something to do with neighbors, for example. So maybe there is an unfinished business with a neighbor, maybe a purchase that kind of like needs to be finished up here because you have been selling something, and then this full moon might bring you certain type of delays. This is definitely about choosing your words carefully, but it doesn't mean that I cannot be honest. Just pay attention that it's really easy to kind of hurt others as well. So let's move on to Gemini rising sign. So you have got the full moon happening in your second house. So it looks like that you are looking at your attachments to money, looking at your own self-worth. Maybe you are thinking about new ways of making money. Maybe this is something that you have done already in the past, and then you kind of going back to it. So, for example, imagine that, I don't know, I used to be a realtor, for example, with cancer, and I used to make money out of it, but I changed jobs, and then now I'm considering maybe I should be going back to do real estate, for example. But also, this is telling you to kind of review your own security as well, maybe being with the sun in the eighth house in the sign of Capricorn, a bit more cautious about emotions. There's an emotional baggage connected to your finances here. Maybe you have been overspending money, for example, and then that needs to be reviewed. And maybe there is definitely the need here to kind of release old uh, maybe traumatic experiences around money or inherited kind of like money issues, for example. So this is telling you to do a bit of a budgeting. What is your spending habits like? How does your investments look like? And maybe you are worried about it because the out of our energies often represent such things. Maybe you are looking for a new job. Obviously, Neptune is in your 10th house, which is connected to uh, work related matters. So maybe you don't feel valued at work. Maybe you would like to start a new job, but you are actually considering your obligations as well as your family life as well. And maybe it is even telling you that it's time to somehow release some of your possessions that might not be needed anymore. So, what are your feelings towards your financial situation at the moment? Are you emotionally tied up to your money? So, therefore, means that you are mixing up your self worth with your net worth. Maybe it even could feel like that I want to, kind of like go cheaper because I need more clients and so on. The out of bound planets often represents really, really high heights and really, really low lows. So this could really be a fluctuation about your finances, about your investments as well. And maybe the last 4 or 5 months, your money has been all over the place. So in this case, how to kind of stabilize that? We need to kind of think about that as well. And then how secure I feel in my own skin. And maybe this is also kind of like a realization that the way things are going right now is actually not sustainable anymore. So I need to be making a tweak here. But your emotions can overcloud your judgment, overcloud your own clarity. So you might not be able to kind of figure out immediately where to start. And also, this is telling you to know that your emotions The fluctuating mood is actually affecting your own financial ability as well. So you're going to have to step back and you're going to have to be able to start or try to start things clear. So this is highlighting, your job situations as well. So it's very possible that you are not aligned to your goals anymore, and maybe you are going to start negotiating different type of work roles, and that's where Juno in the sixth house would be coming into the picture. And Chiron in your 11th, which is the house of pay rise, could indicate that you feel not appreciated somehow, and then you want to be kind of doing some negotiation about receiving a pay rise. So this would be and on top of that, I think self-care is highly important for you as well. And one of the reasons is because the exalted ruler of Cancer is Jupiter, which is very close by to your rising sign. So looking after yourself is extremely important. And Mars is the ruler of your sixth house, which is again connected to self-care, but also this is the house of this is house of this is the now this is something I was teaching in the wealth in the chart webinar, that the sixth house is the fifth from the second. So it's pretty much about what type of desires we have once we've got the money and what type of desires we have when we don't have the money. So even it could indicate that what is making you kind of nervous or emotionally out of balance is that, you know what, I cannot live up to my own desires. I would like to, I don't know, buy a bunch of flowers and I cannot afford it. And then it kind of drags my mood down. Or I've got the money and then my desires are actually increasing. And let's say I want to buy two bunches of flowers. And that's where Sun comes into the picture in the sign of Capricorn, which says that you need to be a little bit more cautious with it. Okay, let's move on to Cancer rising sign. Of course, Cancer, this is important for you because it is happening in your first house. So, on one hand, this is telling you that you are yourself and your body, and yeah, basically, yourself and your body are the number one priorities in your life. This is time for you to start certain type of habits to be able to be reconnected with the self, to feel good again in your own skin. And also important to remember that Mars is the ruler of your fifth house. So definitely, which is the house of fun and your house of desires. So there could be a desire here that I would like to be me. I would like to be alone. I would like to, I don't know, switch off my phone, for example, and just spend some quality time with myself. This is definitely telling you that it's time to be aligned, um, to have goals in life, as well as to be aligned or to do a bit of a reflection on your personal relationships as well, whether you feel like that your partner is committed. Of course, the sun is in the seventh house, and we've got Juno connected to your fifth house as well, which is your romantic life. So maybe you have chosen to be single for a very long time, and maybe it is connected to somehow having to put your ego aside. You've got the 1, 5, and the ninth houses connected here by a grand trine, which all are connected to your confidence level as well as your ego. So maybe you're going to have to put your ego aside, or maybe you're going to have to be looking at what the ego actually desires here and then moving towards a relationship. If you are in a committed relationship, then this might be an invitation to look at the intimacy department a little bit more. What type of connections I have made through relationships. And on top of that, this might be even telling you to look at the intimacy department as well a little bit more. Also, maybe this could even talk to you about you having the desire to have a child, or maybe a problem that has been kind of happening with your children, and then it's kind of coming back to you somehow. And then it feels like that it's kind of weighing you down. This is definitely, full moons are kind of like a mirror. So this is even telling you to look into the mirror and see how the Capricorn energies are not integrated in your own life. Because the seventh house here, partnership, but it's also the unintegrated part of the self as well. And when the Capricorn part of your chart is not integrated in your life, what could be happening is that you are going to be attracting the wrong scenarios and wrong people into your life. So maybe this is highlighting to you that you should be a little bit more goal orientated. You are allowed to have a career. You need to be doing a lot of reflection on your own identity, on your own appearance as well. Maybe potentially you have put on weight, for example, and so on. And what am I going to do with that? How am I going to kind of get out of this? So this might be telling you, try out different things, be courageous, Mars, out of bound energies as well. So let's put on, instead of blue, let's put on yellow color. How does that look like? Accessorize yourself a little bit. Accessorize yourself a little bit. Change something in your own style. Because the seventh house is also the representation of how you should kind of come across to others. And obviously, Capricorn is a little bit more on the reserve side, but still tasteful. So are you in your pajamas all the time at home and so forth? Maybe we're going to have to be looking at this as well. And on top of that, Neptune in your ninth house is a little bit about promoting yourself. Two, so putting yourself out there, and the sun might represent that we have been a bit rigid about this. Maybe what the problem here is that you are in certain type of denials, or you are struggling to accept yourself the way you are. Um, the very important part is whenever we've got anything going down in the first house, we have to be making a decision. So how to make a decision for the better. And maybe you have to be making a decision about your love life, maybe about, where your children are going to go to school. Because the seventh house is, for example, free sign away from the fifth, and that's the children's school situations. So you have to be making a decision about what school I'm going to be sending them and so forth. And I think Mars can represent an emotional breakthrough as well, especially with a sextile to Uranus. Full moons are also talking to you about having to release something. So having to release the past, having to let go of your children. And even it could feel like that I have had to let go of so many fun in my life, and I want to be re-inviting some of them back. So good luck to you, and let's move on to Leo rising sign. So for you, Leo, the lunation is going to be happening in your 12th house. Neptune in the eighth and Juno in the fourth. So it pretty much looks like that you're gonna have to be working through quite a lot of emotional issues. This could be about cleaning up the past, maybe able to let go of a past relationship, for example. Mm, uh, Something needs to be ended here because the 12th house is about closure. And of course, Mars retrograde kind of started in your first house as well. So this could indicate that it's in order for you to be able to start fresh, you're going to have to put the past behind of you. And maybe we're going to have to be going down on a memory lane to see where the problems are originated from. But you don't need to be rushing the healing. All these houses are connected to healing. We need to be slow. We need, watch out for kind of like burning out, for example, with the sun in the sixth house, because we can be overwhelmed with all the responsibilities and the obligations that we've got. And this is also about the recognition of your subconscious kind of like activities. How am I past feelings are kind of like navigating my life right now? What is stopping me from achieving my own dreams? What is that shadow? The shadow self there, which potentially originates from family with Juno in the fourth house, kind of like you being committed to the family, you kind of have got this invisible karmic agreement with your family line that, let's say, I'm going to be struggling, I'm not going to be visible, I'm going to be in debt, and all these type of topics. And this Mars might be inviting you to kind of cut ties with that. Remember, Mars is going to be back into your first house, so you've got a good 3 month here, 4 month to kind of deal with these subconscious issues so that you can start your life fresh after. So letting go and the preparation for a new chapter in your life is one of the most important keywords here. Yes, some of you maybe kind of overstretch yourself a little bit, and then it's taking a physical toll on your own body. And maybe this is an invitation that it's time to rest as well a little bit, but not necessarily ignoring all your obligations, because obviously then that's going to be accumulating as well. And then you're going to have to be able to work extra hard. But scheduling a bit of a downtime for you is completely okay. Maybe you've been doing a lot of partying, for example, a lot of social events, because Leo, you are up to those type of things. So maybe it's about changing certain type of habits, for example, in your life. Maybe you're going to have to be looking at how to boost your own immune system. So self-care is definitely a major focus for you, and especially on creating a better emotional foundation for yourself. Listen to your intuition, what your body is telling you, because that's the right course of action. Be, you know, look after your body, rest enough. Maybe this is about releasing full moon, certain type of bad habits that have been, in a way, unfortunately, kind of destroying your emotional or mental well-being as well. And maybe some of you just want to be kind of like ending a contractual agreement because Uranus is in the picture as well in the 10th house. So maybe what we need to be looking at is whether you are brave enough to kind of do that. Maybe you haven't dealt with a grief from the past. Maybe it's a loss of a dear loved ones, and then you kind of swept it under the carpet, and then you have to be facing now the loss of that person. I have to be dealing with this. Maybe this is again a closure connected to your career or any type of power struggles, and then how to feel, how to kind of move away, how to move towards a new goal. That is a possibility for you as well. I think pretty much I mentioned everything that you might need to know about this lunation. Maybe you have been very nervous since September. You've been very worried, anxious about potentially the future with Chiron in your ninth house. And then you got obsessed with the eighth house to something. And then this is telling you that this is an unhealthy obsession. And that kind of needs to go as well. Maybe you feel like that you are at the lowest point in your life, and then you are unsure about how to kind of get out of this rut. Maybe you feel lost. Maybe you don't have the hopes anymore with Chiron in your ninth house. I don't have anything to look forward to. I don't know what the meaning to life is. So this is encouraging you to find new meanings. Be positive, have a more uplifting kind of mindset. Have a good full moon, and let's move on to Virgo rising sign. So, dear Virgo, this is taking place in your 11th house, which is the house of friendship and long term goals. And this full moon actually illuminating the possibility of resolving certain type of past issues, for example, with a friend of yours. Maybe you are returning somehow to an old goal that you kind of had to leave behind, maybe because of certain type of work issues, maybe a performance that you had, maybe you had children related matters to kind of look after. And then now we are pulling these goals out of the drawers, and then maybe we feel motivated to go after them. Also, this could really talk to you about somehow deepening your connections with others. So Neptune is trining this full moon from the seventh house. On one hand, all these houses are connected to visibility. And maybe you yearning to kind of reconnect with a friend of yours, to reconnect with your partner and have a bit more social life as well. And then Virgo, you are extremely good at scheduling, and the sun in the fifth house can help you with that. So scheduling some type of fun activities with others. Also, this is very possible that you want to kind of belong, you're yearning to belong to someone, you yearn to belong to a group of people. Maybe you even consider that you want to be doing kind of like a YouTube channel and then building your own kind of community. And you might be hesitant about it. Oh, is it the right course of action? Is it not? And so on. So maybe Mars is telling you that if you have been hesitating since September, actually it's time to take certain type of actions, and then you might start seeing the results. For example, sometimes in July, June, when Mars is going to be moving into the sign of Virgo. Yes, you can get to know new friends as well, or old friends are possibly coming back into your life as well. And also, if you have been single, I mean, the fifth and the seventh house are getting activated for you. So this could talk to you about potentially meeting someone uh, new, or potentially someone old who is coming back into your life as well. I mean, Mars is the representation of messages, emails, and phone calls in your chart. So you might be getting suddenly out of bound planets, a phone call from a past lover. And then you are kind of like struggling to understand what this is about. But definitely also the fun with your partner, partnership, and so on. And also remember that Juno is in the third house as well. So this could even talk to you about contractual agreements, kind of like opportunities to collaborate with others. Also, what might be potentially the problem here is that you have got your own allies, 11th house, and then you do not necessarily know whether to trust them. And that would be the scorpionic part of your chart. And Neptune is also the planet of misleading. So you might feel that you're getting misled, or people wouldn't understand what you have got to say, or maybe even that they would not be able to put themselves in your own shoes. So again, they would not be able to understand what you are doing. And maybe you have been thinking about a certain type of separation, and because Cancer is about detachment as well as attachment. So, and then Mars is asking you whether you are brave enough to actually speak your own truth, to be brave enough to actually make that move. And yes, Mars retrograde might be telling you that this is not the greatest time, but it also tells you that it's time to do certain type of preparation as well. So the genuinity of your friendships could be a topic that you might be kind of thinking about. The 11th house is also your dream. So it's kind of like the dream home, the dream family situation. So maybe you want to be having a conversation with your partner that you want to be creating that dream home. You want to be building it, Capricorn, and you want to be building a family together. And you want to, let's say, get married or to take the relationship to the next level as well. Emotionally, you might be feeling very overwhelmed. Maybe it feels like that your friends are kind of dumping their own issues onto you, and maybe also you might be ignoring of having certain type of confrontations with others as well, though So, but maybe it's just about opening up to your friends about how you truly feel about the past. I think I pretty much mentioned everything for you, Virgo, what you kind of need to know here. Virgo, you are into healthy lifestyle. So the sun illuminating your fifth house could even indicate that it's time to actually go back to gym and the need to somehow, not just taking care of the physical body, but taking care of the emotional body as well. Libra rising sign. So this full moon is illuminating your career department, the 10th house. Apart from career, it also represents your public image as well as your achievements. So it looks like that you are going for something. You are going for potentially a new career. You are going for a pay rise. You are going for getting that recognition, kind of like even finishing up a certain type of project. Maybe you have been held back. Maybe you started this project back in September, and then now it feels like that you are in the finish line. But Mars retrograde is telling you that maybe there is some bits and bobs that are kind of not finalized yet, and then you're gonna have to revisit them. Also, Mars retrograde, can slow things down. So even with the sun being in the fourth house, what could be stopping you is certain type of family obligations, something that is going down in your home environment, something breaks down, and so on. And then you thought that, okay, I'm going to be finishing this by the next week. And then unfortunately, it's going to be a little bit having to postpone something. So there is the need here to kind of reassess your career department, what you have achieved so far. Do I feel happy and content in the career department that I have been kind of doing maybe for a very long time? Also, this could really talk to you about the fourth and the 10th house, kind of like your legacy. So, what do I leave behind? A little bit of a summary point about what I have achieved and what I would like to achieve in the future, and also whether I get recognized and acknowledged by my own family as well as people that I live together with. Now, Mars is usually making things hotter, so even it could bring struggles back into your career department or into your home environment as well. And potentially this is connected to daily routines, habits, or financial situation because of the involvement on Neptune and Juno in the second house. So this could even talk to you about having to make certain type of financial agreement, or we are just considering of how to take the business further, for example, and who to kind of collaborate with Neptune so that the business venture can be taken to the next level. And maybe it also can feel like that the people that you work together with, bosses and stuff like that, are kind of like undermining you, or you don't feel appreciated by them. And that is shaking up your inner core a little bit. And therefore, you might be considering of pursuing a new career where you might feel more, in a way, kind of like deserving. Um, I think I mentioned everything pretty much. Mars is the planet of motivation. So also ask yourself whether you feel motivated in the current career department. And maybe you have got these back and forth type of feelings that good days and bad days, pretty much depending on your own mood. Sometimes I feel good and sometimes I feel, unfortunately, kind of challenged, or maybe your progression at work is kind of slowed down because there is the boss archetype, the sun there, who is actually preventing you from, kind of like going ahead with your own ideas. Also, it's kind of like you feel wanted, you feel appreciated or not, and maybe you have to make a decision about that. Let's move on to Scorpio rising sign. So dear Scorpio, this is happening in your ninth house. And the first and the fifth house are also triggered with this Grand trine, and of course, Chiron in your sixth house. So maybe especially Scorpio, you are all about research and reflection. And Juno being there, it's pretty much about having to reflect on your contractual agreements, having to reflect on your partnership, seeing how far we have come, uh, what type of opportunities we've got out there. Potentially, the grass is greener on the other side. So is there something better out there? Because the ninth house is the house of opportunities. And we might want to be explore kind of like different relationships, different fun, different hobbies, different sport activities, because of Neptune in the fifth house, which is connected to fun and intimacy as well. And if you feel unappreciated somehow, if you feel not listened to, not understood, misheard, and so on, then you might start feeling like, but there are others who would actually respect me for who I am. And, because Mars has been back and forth in the sign of Cancer, maybe the beginning was a bit more on the subtle one, and then kind of this full moon, out of bound Mars, out of bound moon is boiling this. And then I want to be speaking up about it, that you don't listen to me, you don't appreciate me, you don't hear me, you disregard my own needs, and so on. And it's kind of enough is enough. So I'm talking about relationships because, of course, Uranus is in the seventh house, which could be bringing a bit of a chaos into your relationship. But also, maybe you are yearning for excitement in your own connections. I mean, of course, actually, we've got a cradle chart going here. And we've got an opposition between Juno and Uranus. So chaos in our agreements. So maybe someone is not upholding themselves to a agreement that you guys made about fun, intimacy, hobbies, and so on. And that is making you angry with Moon and Mars out of bound energies. Also, this could talk to you about, for example, that you would like to attend a course, a class, and maybe this is connected to certain type of relationship ones. Well, if you would like to attend a relationship course, then I have been running one about synastry and your own relationship needs. So you might want to be considering that. Also, the first, ninth, and the fifth house are so connected to your confidence level. And all of those houses are connected to the desire of the ego. So you might have been putting your ego aside, or you might have got the ego dictating to you. And maybe we need to be able to learn to put that aside as well. Maybe it's kind of like going down on a memory lane, how it was when you traveled, or, how well you felt when you were in certain parts of the country, and so on. And so, therefore, it could be bringing up the topic of relocation as well. But maybe with the Sun and Moon opposition with your partner, you don't necessarily see eye to eye, or maybe you don't want to be grabbing this opportunity because you have got certain type of like someone to look after. Obviously, the obligation part with the Sun in the sign of Capricorn is coming up. This is all about adventure with the ninth house, and Cancer is about nurturing. So there is definitely a desire to have more adventure in my life. And maybe you feel like that your partner is not necessarily up for it with Juno. So how to kind of convince them, Scorpio, manipulate them to go on that ride with you. And also, Scorpio, you might be hiding your own feelings. And this lunation is actually telling you that feelings to be hidden is actually detrimental to your health. Mars is the ruler of your sixth, as well as Chiron hovering through the sixth house as well, with Hygeia. And Hygeia is about prevention. So, how to prevent not to get hurt? By revealing your own feelings. Scorpio, reveal. Full moon, reveal. So, you're going to have to be able to talk about something that has been bothering you. And maybe you haven't been able to kind of put your confidence on a stage, or someone who is kind of like undermining your confidence. Fifth house. So how to overcome that? Do I actually listen to these fuckers? Sorry for my language. Or am I going to be able to tap into my own power? This might become a topic for you. Let's move on to Sagittarius rising sign. Sagittarius, this is triggering your water houses 4, 8, and 12. So you can become super sensitive. You can become vulnerable. You can feel that you want to be reconnecting with your family members. Maybe it brings up some memories about the past, about your father, or about the loss of a loved one, for example. And maybe you haven't dealt with it yet just properly. Maybe you haven't cried. And then this is actually going to be highlighting your own emotions. Maybe you want to come across stronger than you are. And then this is telling you that it's okay to come across weak as well. Showing your own weaknesses sometimes is a huge strength. And this is telling you to even talk about more serious stuff, to share your feelings with others, to kind of allow people to see that real side of you as well. There's a lot of shadow work going on with this. So maybe there is, or it could even talk to you about investments into, for example, properties. Maybe you are buying your dream property, for example, with Neptune. Obviously, Juno is the contractual agreement. But are you hesitating about it? Are you back and forth on your decision, or are you going to go ahead with it? And that could be a topic for you. Maybe you kind of feel like, do I trust this person? Do I want to sign this contractual agreement or not? Juno, contractual agreement. Um, is it worth it? Is it not worth it? It could be also a topic for you. And maybe also it's kind of like, because Mars is in Cancer, so Cancer brings up the topic of properties, and the eighth house is a financial house. So dealing with certain type of financial matters that are connected to your home environment. So helping out a member of the family, or potentially, again, maybe something breaks down in the home and then having to kind of fix that up. And of course, Mars retrograde also is telling us to be a little bit more on the careful side, whether we want to be jumping into certain type of financial decisions. And Mars retrograde can even indicate, unfortunately, that when you are transferring money, for example, somewhere because of a property and so on, that might be bringing you certain type of kind of like challenges as well. So watch out, making sure that everything is kind of filled out properly. The house is also about transformation as well. And there is a need here to go deeper. So maybe Mars, you have been working on a goal for a very long time, and maybe it is not kind of like happening for some reason. And now you have to be able to, like Mars is the break, and the Cancer is the shell of the crab. So you need to be kind of breaking out of these insecurities. And something that needs to kind of die and let gone. And often this is connected to some inherited uncertainty that comes from family, or maybe you have got certain type of secrets that you have been hiding, and that makes you feel vulnerable. So it's about digging up the skeletons in the closet and facing them so that it's not a fear anymore. And then you can go towards. Remember, there is this T square happening to Chiron as well in your fifth house, which is connected to sexuality and potentially childhood traumas. So maybe there is a need here to dig those up as well. And obviously, the eighth house is one of the houses that are connected to strength. So once we face our inner insecurities, that makes us even stronger. There's a lot of reflection to be made here on the past. There's a need here to go, sometimes to go back into your own shell, to rebuild the foundation, Neptune in the fourth house, because we are yearning for something better, a better foundation. And then we can start moving on towards certain type of opportunities in our lives. Definitely, forgiving the past could be a topic as well, with Neptune in the fourth house, for forgiving the parents. I mean, the fourth house itself is the past as well, or maybe some emotional healing, emotional therapeutic healing method that you want to be going for. It's kind of like the creation of a space, a safe space for yourself. And even you might be having some debts, for example, financial struggles. And then you might be considering, okay, so what is the root cause of that problem? That could be potentially a topic for you as well. Let's move on to Capricorn. Oh, not days. I just want to go hours. Let's move on to Capricorn rising sign. So your relationship department gets pretty activated here, with Uranus, with the Sun and the Moon, and Mars as well. But overall, the entire Grand Trine is about how to make connections to others. So maybe what have been happening, that certain type of issues in your relationship department that is coming back to you and it needs to be reviewed. And maybe these are some misplaced anger that has not been expressed yet, and kind of like having this forgiving approach to it, that I'm going to be talking to you about what bothers me, but I'm also going to be able to let it go, but I have to be expressing it. I'm going to be forgiving you, but you need to know that you hurt me. There is definitely a need here to kind of come up with certain type of boundaries as well. There is the need here to be honest about something. There is the need here to have this honest and open conversation about the past, about your own family life, potentially with Chiron in the fourth, and of course the Cancerian energy, and then coming up with a conclusion, and that would be Juno. Also, I mean, some people would say that seventh house is your open enemies. Yeah, true, great. But I think this is an indication that we are our worst enemy. And the feelings can be getting in the way of achieving something in life. And you might have been talking down on yourself. You might have been looking down on yourself. And you need to feel encouraged with that Mars retrograde, that this is not the end of the world. You can make tweaks in your life and then you can actually move forward. Somehow the sun in the first house might be highlighting how you are limiting yourself. Maybe you become aware of your own um, like inhibitations, for example. Maybe you have got the haters and then you get a lot of attention for something that you have spoken about on social media. Neptune in the third house, and of course Juno in the 11th. And then it's dragging you down. But do you really care what they say to you? And so on. You know, you might have prepared a material, you've put the time in, Capricorn, and therefore you don't need to care about what other people think about you. So letting go of that. Obviously, that's Neptune as well as the full moon itself. There is definitely the need here to kind of reviewing your close relationships. Often with Juno in Scorpio, you put your kind of like personal relationships under a microscope. And then you might be considering that, you know what, I need to let this go. I want to be breaking out of this relationship, of this connection. This person is not a friend to me anymore. This person doesn't meet my emotional needs, and so on. But this could be connected to business partnership as well, though, because the seventh house or the house of connections are not necessarily just about romantic connections. Watch out, because it's very easy to be projecting our mood onto others. There might be this kind of like hastiness about what we say, or we might be giving mixed messages to others, or others are giving you mixed messages, and that could lead to a misunderstanding. Obviously, Mars is retrograde and Mars is out of bounds, and it's a little bit emotionally frustrated. So, how to express my feelings towards others can be a big topic. So, step back, calm yourself down, rethink about what you are saying to them could be important. Also, potentially, this even can talk to you about that there is a contract that you are about to sign, and maybe you are too excited about it, and Mars is telling you, you know what, let's just consider other alternatives as well. Obviously, the sun in the sign of Capricorn will talk to you about having to be cautious about it. Let's move on to Aquarius rising sign. So, dear Aquarius, this is happening in your sixth house. So, this could talk to you about you wanting to start a new routine. Maybe you have been doing certain type of routines for a while, but this has not been the bestest one for you. So, you're going to have to be able to kind of review them. Maybe you want to be implementing certain type of changes into your life, but you are also considering your financial obligations. And that would be coming from the Neptunian, I mean, the second house activation here, where of course Saturn is co-witnessing Neptune as well. Maybe this is actually about a job change. So you feel not supported, not understood, not heard, not valued in the current workplace that you have been doing. Maybe actually there is certain type of hectic, chaotic elements going down or going on in your work, and it's emotionally kind of shaking you up. And maybe this is the reason why you are considering of um, choosing a new career department. Maybe this is about I mean, the sixth house is about fixing and maintenance. So how to fix, how to maintain my emotional outburst. And that's the Moon and Mars conjunction. Obviously, again, it's been boiling since September. So potentially, now you're just gonna be having this outburst. Maybe this is connected to your financial habits, for example. Maybe this is connected to potentially even how much money I'm making and how many hours I do, and I don't have time for pretty much anything. So that's a possibility with this also. Um, I would also say that let's say if you want to be kind of, because Cancer is often about food, and then Uranus is in Taurus, which is also food. So maybe you want to be making some type of dietary commitments here, and this could be a great time for that. Uh, Obviously, just living a healthier lifestyle. And then the Sun in Capricorn says that you need to be committed, disciplined, and you're going to have to put the hard work in, though. And that's obviously Mars might be making you very motivated. Also, maybe with the 12th house, which is the house of having to have boundaries, and then Capricorn is boundaries as well. So sometimes it's about saying no to certain type of topics as well. So creating certain type of new habits potentially could be a good idea for you. Watch out for stuff like overspending, for example, overstretching yourself at work, work-related accidents as well. Maybe you've had you've made New Year resolution type of stuff, and then you are kind of reviewing those right now. And maybe those were connected to your finances. I'm going to be spending less money and so on. Then it might be about having to review, was it successful? Have I done my part? Have I not done my part? And so on. It doesn't mean that I mean, you have failed, but maybe Mars retrograde is just telling us that it has to be somehow a little bit reviewed, though. Maybe this is also affecting your schedule, and then, people are kind of canceling on you, and then, or people are coming up with these sudden kind of like, oh, I need an urgent reading, for example, because these are out of bound, the life and death type of matter situations, and kind of like messing up your routines. And that is making you emotionally frustrated. Now, the sixth house can represent crisis situations as well, especially in the ego. So, this might be bringing up the question whether you feel good, whether you feel secure in your own skin, who I am, and so on. But this is telling you that any type of situation can be turned around. We just need to be able to fix our emotions up a little bit. I think Aquarius, I mentioned pretty much everything for you that, this is also because often, yeah, one more thing that comes to my mind is that out of bound energy can really talk to you about thinking outside of the box, but Mars retrograde, especially in the sixth house, which is the tested methods, can represent that sometimes you don't have to be reinventing the wheel. We just need to be going back to the roots. We need to be doing something that we have tried before and it worked for us. And maybe this is also telling you that you have got so much on your plate, you feel exhausted, and then there is a need here to rest up a little bit. Maybe you have been focusing a lot on, making money, chasing money, and so on. So, but if you don't take care of your physical health, if you don't take care of yourself, if you don't do this pampering bit, then obviously you can burn out and then you are kind of taken out of business as well. So, but maybe you have been trying to, do the same things all over again with a certain type of habit, and this has not been working out for you. And in that case, this is telling you that you have to let go of that. So you're going to have to be making the decision here whether you have been too attached to a particular habit, a particular solution, and then you are not thinking outside of the box, or actually you have been too stuck in certain ways of doing things, and then you're going to have to be upgrading that a little bit. The upgrade is really coming from Pluto as well, actually, in your first house. So changing ways of working and going towards something new is highlighted here. So what it feels like is that you're going to have to be implementing new habits. Yeah. And the other thing that might be popping up to me is that maybe you've been trying to kind of juggle between too many things, like two jobs, for example, and then that is emotionally overwhelming. So, am I going to be ending one of them? Because this is telling you that you cannot just burn the candles on both ends. And last but not least, Pisces rising sign. So, dear Pisces rising sign, this is taking place in your fifth house. So, your romantic life is pretty highlighted here. And maybe you want to be making a decision about your romantic connections, boyfriends and girlfriends type of scenarios. Is it actually working? Am I going to be going with this? Do I want to be investing into it? Because Mars is the ruler of your second house, the house of investments. So do I want to be investing into this creative project? Do I want to carry on this romantic connection where maybe intimacy, sexuality are not necessarily potentially working? Also, So some of you will decide, most likely, that I am too attached of wanting to be loved, so I'm going to be staying in this romantic connection. And some of you are going to be yearning for something better. With Neptune being in the sign of Pisces, which is the grass is greener on the other side. So definitely it will talk to you about that you are kind of like weighing up your own options. Is there someone better out there I can be making a romantic connection with? And maybe Uranus is going to be bringing some revolutionary discussions with these people, and that's going to be helping you to make the decision. Also, maybe it is connected to what is my heart desire? And my heart desire is kind of this and that, so I want to go for it. But also, this is highly creative position as well. So investing your time and effort into creativity. Maybe you want to be actually connecting you to your own community, Sun in the 11th house and Uranus in the third, in creative ways. Maybe this is also about um, having a bit tired or being a bit tired because the fifth house is the house of vitality. Mars is retrograde. You might be emotionally overwhelmed, and then you kind of cannot get out of bed a little bit. You know, you might be just yearning to rest a little bit, to go on holidays, for example, fifth house holidays. Even it could indicate that you are really excited about a holiday, but maybe that holiday is coming with certain type of delays, for example. Maybe you kind of have got a regret as well that, okay, you know what, I booked this holiday, but I've got so much going on. Do I have the time for it? And so on. So that could be potentially a topic that is popping up here. And also, maybe what you want is to be seen, to be heard, to be appreciated by others. Maybe, you know, kind of like imagine that you make all these YouTube videos and then you kind of feel like that people are not watching it, not appreciating the effort that you put into it. They don't give you the like and all those type of things. And then it's emotionally stirring things up. So with the sun, sorry, with this moon and Mars, you can become a little bit more aggressive though. Um, and you can be snapping at your audience, at your friends, for example, sun in the 11th house. Now, this could actually talk to you about certain type of building new romantic connections as well. Or you just want to be making changes in your romantic life. Maybe with that Neptune, you don't want to be used anymore, or you want to be more of a soulful connection. Of course, Juno is in the part of picture as well. So even Juno is in the ninth house, which is potentially meeting a soulmate in a foreign country or someone with a kind of like different cultural background. And you guys might be hitting off, for example. But what am I going to do now? Am I going to go for it? Am I going to relocate for it? Or is it worth putting time and effort into it? That could be also a topic as well. Of course, the one, five, and ninth house is very much about connected to the ego, and the ego desires a lot of things. And having quite a planetary cluster in the first house and the fifth, it really shows that the ego desires a lot of things. So with Mars, which is the planet of finances in your chart, maybe you're spending a little bit too much money on certain type of things because you are emotionally attached to a new phone, to a new laptop, to a new house, and all those type of things. Talking about houses, by the way, the fifth house is the second from the fourth. So this could even talk to you about you selling a house, you buying a house, investing into a house. Again, are you emotionally attached to that, or are you doing the shopping with your own eyes? So even the spending habits needs to be actually something to pay attention to. The fifth house is sport and hobbies as well. So you might be picking up certain type of old hobbies that you used to love and enjoy. Maybe you don't have the strength to do as much sport anymore right now because you're lacking the energy. So how to find that motivation to get back to it? Your mood can be fluctuating, and maybe your mood is dictating how many exercises I want to be doing a day and so on. But also you might be just kind of like feeling this endless type of energy to do something that you truly enjoy, to put the energy into these creative projects as well. And also, this could even talk to you about that you are exploring new sexual connections, or you are going back into the dating business. So have a great full moon, everyone. I hope this video helps. And then if it does, please show your gratitude just by dropping a like, sharing the video, even subscribing to my social media channels. You can see that in the description below. I've got a YouTube account, of course. I've got a Facebook account. I've got Instagram account. So you might want to consider signing up to those so you can get daily updates as well about the planetary energies. Have a lovely week, everyone, and I will see you in the next lunation report. Bless you. Bye-bye.